All right. My name's Aaron Young, and we're starting a Converter Unknown podcast, and I've got Nick Snyder with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
We are in the Recycle Idaho podcast room, but we're gonna get you your own here soon.
Yeah. But I think we needed to have a good conversation, and there's no better way to start it really than talk to one of our biggest customers, which is United Metals currently. And
Yep.
how long have you been with United Metals, Nick?
Brett hired me in 2010, so I'm going on March of next year. Will be 13 years. So
13 years.
It's been a good run, man. I started by unloading cans, and even way back then, the cats would roll through. But I mean, I didn't even know what stainless steel versus aluminum was.
Really?
Let alone like what a catalytic converter was worth. So we've really come a long way on knowing how to buy them, and that's where you guys come in to help us process them and get them to the next level.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue into the point behind Converter Unknown is we're trying to educate the people that were at the businesses that were at the starting point of what you just alluded to, that don't really understand converters, don't know how to look it up, don't want to take the time to do it, the taboo subject of converters. So how long have you been dealing with converters?
We would buy them back then, but we were the $20 cat guys.
$20 cat guys.
We would buy any cat for $20, even the ones that were worth $0.
Still common today at many scrap yards.
But we would also buy the cats that were worth $300 for $20 because we didn't know how to buy them, not because we were trying to screw anyone. Because half the time, we were getting screwed by your local white van core buyers. They'd roll through with other scrap that we would know how to buy, like copper and radiators and things of that nature. And they would unload all their Now I know what they were doing to me. I bought a lot of aftermarkets that were worth $5 for $20. A lot, like hundreds.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
So, and I noticed way back then, this is in 2010, the year I got hired. One of the first things I did there, I requested that we had an email so we could email quotes back and forth because we didn't even have that set up. We were still like just really old school way back then. So, and I wish I could find this email. It came from the Boise Rec Center at unitedmetal.us, our old email address. It was not Boise, Caldwell Rec Center. And I emailed Brett, our owner, our CEO, the man that makes everything happen for us. I emailed him way back then. I said, hey, Brett, we buy a lot of scrap from these guys, and we buy a lot of cats from them, but they're keeping like 3/4 of the cats. And I'd like to learn how to buy those ones. I just don't know how. And it's thinking way back then and where we are today, it just makes me kind of laugh and how bad we were getting screwed by so many people. But back then, we bought a lot of cars, and they still had the catalytic converters on them. Yep. So that helped absorb that blow. We still came out, net positive overall, but we were getting fleeced pretty bad on the aftermarkets.
Well, it's always been sort of a secret, right? I mean, everybody's tried to keep this industry sort of underground because those white vans want to make sure that they're able to buy them for $20-$40 and then turn it around and sell it to a legitimate buyer, which Converter Reclaim has become, which is another great segue into my next question. Tell me the transformation from the $20 cat buy, the $300 cat buy, to maybe right up before Converter Reclaim was born.
So,
did you get help, etc.? Maybe
exactly.
Like that.
100% we did. We got a lot of help. We wouldn't be where we are today without help from some really great people that are still in the industry. They're still killing. I just chatted with a few guys that still know our old core buyer over from Alter. Great dude, and he came down and taught us a lot. Before that, we were selling our Gaylords to other people out of Utah they'd come up and they'd go grade them on site and pay us for them, you know. And I didn't know those guys at all. Brett finally put together a buy with Alter. Alter came in and graded them with our team, which was a handful of us buyers. So we sat there for 2 days and graded.
Just taking notes.
We were in there grading with them, like trying. There's just so much to learn. Like it was hard to retain it all, you know. Yeah. So that's when we first learned. That's when we were still buying them for $20 a piece, like even the aftermarkets. That's when we learned that the aftermarkets we were getting paid $5 or $10 for them, you know. So we've made that change immediately. Mm-hmm. We did that, and then flash forward maybe another year. We hired Jay Milligan on. He already had worked for us, but we moved him in to really help grow the converter side of the business. So me and Jay flew over to Milwaukee with, I think we sent 8 or 10 boxes of our own cats that way, and we graded all of them. And that's where it all started, like that trip.
Just sparked.
Yeah, I think, it just sparked our interest. We really started to learn how to do things. And they were, Tad was his name, our buyer, and his assistant, his right-hand man, Paul. They were awesome. For the longest time, we sold to them and used them. And we finally got to a point where we got big enough where we could sell direct, because we didn't have the units, you know. And there's a lot of people that don't have that units and never will, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with selling with a legitimate outfit that can do that. Yeah. So,
especially one that's transparent and takes care of, you know, those local scrapyards. I think that's a big miss as we've grown in the industry as converter reclaim. We thought it was necessary to make converter unknown because of all the conversations we've had nationwide with scrap yards, whatever it may be, that just don't want to deal with it because they just don't understand the ins and outs, and they think it's a bigger pain. But, you know, not to get off into the weeds, I want to learn more about your story and where, you know, converter reclaim came to really come to light, and then that will segue into what Converter Unknown is looking to accomplish. But again, United Metals, one of our parent company, of course, but obviously our biggest customer as well. There's a lot to learn on how Converter Reclaim sort of interacts with United Metals. So from the point where you guys started getting interest into converters, how did we get to Converter Reclaim? So
me and Jay's trip, it was in winter, because I remember we landed in Milwaukee, and I shit you not, it was negative 22 degrees when we landed. And I've never experienced cold like that. My phone wouldn't work. You know, my phone, I would just power it down.
Right.
It was so cold. So it was in the winter of either 13 or early of 14. We get there, and we get as much information as we can. We really start trying to learn how to buy them. They were real supportive of helping us too. If we had questions, we could text them, because we were still shipping them cats all the time. We were selling. They were our buyer, and we still didn't know shit, because we would go. I remember the first few trips, me and Jay, we took our converter reclaim truck. We took our truck out and tried to buy. I remember specifically, there was one buyer that he's a junk car guy. He buys and sells junk cars, and he cuts the cats. We met with him at a location and graded them all, and I felt real confident this is going to be our first, like, good buy. It was like 100 cats. We spent a lot of time grading them. He told us to fuck off, basically, because we were nowhere in the ballpark, because we weren't grading them right.
Okay.
Because we didn't know enough yet. We still were, like, so, like, new. We weren't using codes. We were just, you know, so that was hurting us. We didn't even know that you could look up shit by codes yet. We didn't even know that, because that wasn't done in the industry back then.
Yeah.
That was, like, kind of a newer thing. Some people were doing it. Then we went to a few different shops. They all told us the same thing, like, get out of here, you know. one of our first buys was a little mechanic shop. Jay pulled it off. Jay did it. But it was just like a couple, you know. And we were pretty happy.
It was a win.
Oh, yeah, we like got a W. Then we went out to one of our auto salvages we've been doing business with for years, but they were selling to the white van guys, which is fine. That's how they wanted to do it, you know. But we said, hey, give us a shot. We went in there and graded them. Same thing, though. The guy was like, no, I'm not going to do it. We had to go cowboy on that. Like, what if we give you an extra $1,000? Because we knew we still didn't really know how to do this.
Right.
And he's like, all right. And that was like our big, like, anytime I have to go, like, look at when Converter Reclaim started, I always look at that day. Like, that's the day it was really born. Because I felt good, because I was like a couple hundred cats.
Yeah.
You know, and we finally pulled a big one off. It was a big win. But that's when we learned we didn't know shit still. We need to learn more. And we had the volume. We own 7 scrap yards. We had the volume to support going to direct to a PGM smelter. So we started fishing around and started learning more. We found a smelter that could help teach us. Those guys, that's the next step. They taught us so much. And Jay Milligan's really the one that took it off. Like, he drove that little Converter Reclaim truck around everywhere. And he was buying hundreds of cats from legitimate people, from tow companies, mechanics, muffler shops, auto salvages, like, you know, all these people that legitimately get cats. Because you know this, but everyone listening to this might not know this. Believe it or not, the majority of the cats that are sold in the United States are not stolen.
Amen. And
that's something that, is it a problem? Absolutely. The stolen ones, that shit sucks. Yep. No one wants to go out to their car and have that, you know. But the majority of the cats out there recycled are not stolen, believe it or not. Yep. Now, there are some. And I hope that's something that Converter Reclaim can help fix. You know?
Yeah, that's a great point, and something that we're going to probably cover throughout Converter Unknown's podcast, throughout its existence. You know, the whole theft, the whole media-driven narrative around converter theft. But you know, it's funny you mentioned that Converter Reclaim. Buying locally, because you're talking about when Converter Reclaim was sort of created, it was regionally. You were testing the model, everything's regional.
We're just buying them in the Treasure Valley.
Yeah, doing really good, it's working. You finally, with a little help from a smelter, was able to understand how to actually buy an individual cat fairly on both sides.
We just weren't being competitive the old way we were buying them. We weren't being competitive enough with just all the other core buyers. Because there's a lot of traveling core buyers in the United States.
Right.
So we were not nearly competitive enough until we found a new partner that helped us educate us and make us more competitive, where we could actually do it. And then all these local shops had a new alternative on how to sell them, you know?
Yep. And there's still many, many, many local shops out there that do not understand this process and frankly don't understand that this exists, and they're still stuck on, you know, core charges back to a manufacturer, or the white van, which is coming around.
What is a core charge on a converter? Do you know?
So it ranges from 50 to 100 depending on whether it's a gasser or a diesel.
So there's a good chance you'd be better off to pay the core charge and then just keep your can and sell it.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Got it. And even if they didn't know, would they be able to, like, ask you? Like,
yeah.
Then you could be like, oh, that thing's worth 20, fucking...
A simple
get
text.
Get $100 for it.
It's no time out of their day to text me a code, and I can tell them their $400 cat is worth $400 and not $50, and now you have a new revenue stream within that muffler shop or that auto shop. That exists all over the United States, and I think that's why Converter Reclaim has gained so much momentum. You know, we haven't really talked about where Converter Reclaim regionally. So rather than me getting into the weeds, let's talk about the day that United Metals decided this could go national?
I'm pretty sure me and Brett and Jay were sitting at this table right here. And Brett had a napkin idea, is what we like to say. and it was a box program where we quote, pay for shipping, and send them a payment, nationwide, And it's been, you would know as much as me. When did we ship our first box?
Yeah, I think you guys, before bringing me on, Converter Reclaim was thought of, and y'all did it probably in February
of last year.
Of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's been a pretty amazing.
So February 2021.
Yeah.
Right. So we've been doing it for more than a year, but really, to me, we weren't really doing it till SEMA.
Yeah.
After SEMA, that's kind of like my head. We kind of really learned, and that's a lot of kudos to you, bringing you on and really figuring out how to help service everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. The nation is in dire need of this service, and I think we've hit it's not a niche, it's an actual need,
Mm-hmm. What do you say, you're talking to people more than me in the converter world, what do you say to these people that always call you a thief? What do you think about that?
Big one.
Do they blame you for the crackhead that cut a cat off?
Yep.
Are they blaming you
Yep.
or Converter Reclaim?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's honestly probably the most known thing about catalytic converters in the world, I'll just speak nationally, is that they get stolen. Because that's a media-driven narrative, which is fine, because getting your catalytic converter stolen is not fun, and it's expensive. But at the end of the day, the number is 25 million and change annually that cats are recycled. Responsibly, and 19,000 on average claims per year from stolen catalytic converters. So less than 0.01% of catalytic converters are actually stolen, which doesn't mean it's not a problem. So I think Converter Reclaim is very unique, and this is what we tell people when people say you guys are part of the problem. Once we explain to them that we're actually part of the solution and how we approach our business model with no cash, with all of our data that's collected and saved for any type of investigation, pictures, name, address, anything that investigation might require, ID, we're not saying that it's impossible to get through our system, but for the most part, those crackheads, those guys out there, the actual criminals that are cutting these things off of cars, those guys don't want to deal with us.
They don't want to have to send in a picture of their driver's license.
No.
If that's going
to. They also want cash because they don't want to be traced.
And because they don't want to give you anything you could give the local PD to get them locked up. Okay.
Yeah, I think that it's not perfect. No solution is perfect, and the answer is not to stop recycling. As we progress through this podcast, we'll talk about the importance of the PGMs in our modern day society.
Yeah.
But
they use that stuff in cancer medicine.
Cancer medication. Great one. Yeah, platinum. Yeah.
So
palladium, microchips.
Yeah, microchips, cancer medicine. Other catalytic converters,
Things for our green future.
Yeah.
That we are so, forced to believe in. Whether we like it or not, it's coming. But platinum, palladium are important parts of our future, and it's only mined in 2 places in the world.
Where's that at?
South Africa and Russia.
Oh, okay.
So
and Russia might be hard to get those PGMs out of right now.
So we all need
so
to
right
think
now
about
we're
this.
For the United States, probably just Africa then, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bit of a hold, I would say, coming out of Russia, given the times. So.
Well, I like what you're doing. I'm excited to listen to your podcast. It's an honor to be on the first one. Do you have any others scheduled with anybody yet?
Yeah, so you're our biggest customer. So this is our first one. We will start to sort of reach out to other people in the industry that we just want to learn from. I don't claim to know anything about the catalytic converter world. I'm here to learn and to educate the normal mom and pop shop out there that don't realize the amount of money that they're giving away, and also the taboo subject of converters need to be brought to light, because what we're doing as an industry, for the most part, is a good thing. So I really appreciate your time in telling us your story, and hopefully you'll come back for another one.
You got it.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.